half the food we eat is only grown thanks to fertilisers that are made from fossil fuels. I mean, natural gas, you just said, is the main feedstock. It's used to convert carbon dioxide, hydrogen and nitrogen into a fertiliser known as urea. So when Bant talks about getting rid of coal and gas and oil, does he know anything about their use in growing food?
No, I don't think he does. I don't think he does. And unfortunately, our schools don't teach this stuff to our children anymore. They learn a lot about fossil fuels, but they learn all the downsides of fossil fuels, not the upsides that have helped the world climb out of what was before the Industrial Revolution, a nasty, brutish and short existence for human beings. It is thanks to fossil fuels that we have and enjoy the modern lives we do. And if we take that away, bad things are going to happen. Now, I don't think anybody is starving around the world thanks to climate change at this stage, but they certainly are starving thanks to the implementation of climate change policies.
Absolutely.
And that's where now we need to turn around here and return the production of energy and food to wealthy, free and open nations, not outsource them to dictatorial regimes that will only seek to do us harm.
So, Matt, to put it simply, is it valid to say, thanks to fossil fuels, hunger has effectively disappeared? So if the Teals and the Greens and Labor are going to rabbit on about climate change and demonising fossil fuels, do they know anything about the fact that fossil fuels have a profound impact on the growing of food?
As I say, Alan, I don't think they do, and maybe they don't care, because keep in mind where the Teal representatives with the Greens are, they're the wealthiest parts of our country. And so in those areas, we'll still have food, it'll just be a bit more expensive. But for the vast bulk of the rest of us, eating a Scotch fillet will become a luxury item. It'll become back to Tiny Tim days, where Christmas is the time where you're able to have something of decent protein. The rest of the time, we just won't be able to afford these.
Well, just take one example.
And so when you're well heeled.
Yeah. Just take one example. I mean, I've talked recently on the program about Sri Lanka and the crisis there. They're almost bankrupt. And you've written about this too. One of those Rajapaksas, there's a whole lot of them run the joint there, but doesn't President Rajapaksa ban the importation of chemical fertilisers? He wanted farming to be 100% organic. So this is the fertiliser equivalent of net zero. But within 6 months, rice production fell by 20%. Shops were rationing it. By November last year, the government had to back down and allow chemical fertiliser use to resume. But the damage had been done. And the decline in the production of cash crops like rubber and tea led to this financial crisis. Now Sri Lanka are virtually bankrupt. I mean, are we heading in that direction?
Well, we're a long way from Sri Lanka, but it is a cautionary tale, and it's not virtually bankrupt, it is bankrupt. The Sri Lankan Treasury, before this started, had $7.5 billion in the bank. This was put out there by the new Prime Minister, who's putting the facts on the table. They've had $7.5 billion in their treasury. Today they have $1 million They've gone from $7.5 billion to $1 million. They cannot afford to import fuel. The country's in complete crisis.
Amazing.
Now, we're a long way from that. And paradoxically, Alan, to some extent, these green policies benefit Australia because we're a food and energy exporter. So prices for coal and food are up at the moment. That's great for miners and farmers. The problem and the front lines for our country will be for poorer people who cannot afford a Scotch fillet every night, people who have to watch their pennies every week, or they'll start getting into the debt in the pounds. Right. They're the people that will be hurt by these policies, and they're the people being left behind by the Teals and others. Now, I think the challenge for us in the Liberal National Party is to not forget those people. This party, this coalition, was built on the backs of the forgotten people.
Absolutely.
And we are no longer in government because we forgot the forgotten people.
Good on you.
We need to rediscover them, get out to the quiet Australians, back their aspirations, back their dreams, and not sign up to these crazy policies, make their life tough.